Is it overrated or is it underrated? You, my friends, can be the judge of that. Well, I guess I guess we're going to be the judge of that. But you also be the judge of that in the comments section below. Today,
You get to be
we're
the
going
belated judges when the real judges have judged. There you go.
we're going through today a list of about 8 games, and we're going to talk about, do we find these games to be overrated or underrated? We don't get to do no middleman, and I've been accused of being a fence sitter a time or two in my day. A guy with no real opinion, they say. Well, today I'm giving you my opinion, and it's going to be overrated or underrated. So we're going to take these 8 games here today. We're going to go to their Metacritic page, and we're going to just very, very quickly. I'm gonna tell Loon a game name. I'm gonna tell him the score, and he's gonna have to instinctively. You don't gotta instinctively do it. You can sit ponder for a second, but we're
Yeah, I
gonna we're
can
gonna
sit on
hit
the
you with some.
fence. Oh, beautiful. That's a beautiful seating.
We're gonna do our gut reactions to if these games are overrated or underrated. Loon, do you want to go first, my friend?
Um. Yeah, sure. Why not?
How about we start it off with an absolute motherfucking classic, a game that a game that you love dearly, a game that you have, I think, 100%ed.
Oh
A
God.
game that released in 2022.
All right.
And I'm talking about the one and only Elden Ring.
Okay.
It is right now sitting at a 96 on Metacritic. Overrated or underrated? 9,
96.
96.
96. Holy smokes. Ooh. So how in like oh is this are we needing to be fairly brief? We'll be
Hit
fairly
me with
brief.
whatever. Yeah, we can be pretty brief.
Yeah, no, it's overrated. It is overrated. I think there's been that thing where it is I constantly dig Nintendo outright for having a rabid fan base that kind of get lost in their own hype. I think that's the same with FromSoft fans. I think we get a bit carried away sometimes. You're obviously not invested in it in the same way that I am.
No, but I do. There is something that we'll talk about later on where it's the exact same thing, and I completely agree.
Um, so when I look through the lens of Elden Ring, having obviously 100% of it, I love Souls likes and stuff like that. It's also the thing of they've never made a perfect game, and obviously that's kind of a redundant statement. There's no perfect game, but what I mean is there are glaring flaws in Elden Ring that just people don't care to touch upon. I don't think it's the particularly best execution of an open world format. I think some of the dungeons are kind of eh. And I don't think when you're looking at the entire boss list, I don't think it's the strongest boss lineup either. I think there are the highest highs of bosses in this game. For me personally, there are a few highs, but there are really, really, really bad bosses as well. So I would say personally, it is overrated. Do I need to give like what I would put the score as, or can we
No,
just leave it? Okay, thank God.
no need, no need, no need at all, my friend. We'll give you the easy road on this one. Maybe that'll be a game in the future where we got to provide the score, but not right now. Keep it simple. Overrated or underrated? You're going. I, would you say slightly overrated, wildly overrated?
What was it? 96.
96.
Yes, just slightly overrated. I think it's definitely like an all time classic kind of thing. There's no denying that. You can't dog it that hard. It is still FromSoft, but it is definitely bit overrated.
Okay, nice. Well, hit me with your first game, and we'll overrate or underrate determine the next one on the list.
I have to find it because there are so many tabs. This one,
I can pull up the score if you want me to.
yeah, Ghost of Tsushima.
Ghost of Tsushima. Okay. So Ghost of Tsushima, right now as I look, goodness gracious, Ghost of Tsushima is an 83. on Metacritic.
So can I also just interject something? I didn't know he was going to use Metacritic scores either.
Did I not say that?
No. So I feel a bit bad because I was like, whenever I hear people talk about it, it's kind of the thing of like when it's like Days Gone, for instance, because it if it was Days Gone, I wouldn't have chosen because I know that the Metacritic score is dog. Oh, I feel
Yeah.
bad, but
No, that's totally on me, 100% on me. I should have put that on our Google Doc.
no, it's fine. Right,
Um,
Ghost of Tsushima though. We'll
okay,
stick with it.
so that's an 83 on Metacritic. Um, I would say that's underrated. I mean, like I 83 is pretty fucking low. You're getting close to a 7 for Ghost of Tsushima. Like that is not a 7 out of 10 game to me. That is very close to a 9 out of 10 game in my opinion. It's closer to 7 than 9. So yeah, that's I would say actually wildly underrated for Ghost of Tsushima.
Hmm. Yeah, okay, that kind of shocked me.
83?
Yeah, I think it's kind of the baffling thing, isn't it, that Sony first party games are held in such high regard, and then you have like
Yeah.
quite a few of them don't have very good Metacritic scores, like with Days Gone, for example, because I think that's floating around like the 80s, isn't it? Low 80s.
Well, I think yeah, it was actually I think that was like high 60s or low
There's
70s
no
if I'm not
way that's in
mistaken.
the 60s.
Oh, I swear I think it's like low 70s or something. Let's see.
Holy shit.
Dude, but I think it's to your point is like everything they compare everything to The Last of Us. Days Gone 1 is at a 71. 71. And I think it is like that thing. It's everything gets compared to the fucking Last of Us. It's like, dude, not everything's got to be the Last of Us,
But do you know what we're looking at through the lens with? Perfect
huh?
Link. Our gut feeling, and not
Ah,
the perfected review score which we have mastered this
totally.
week. So who knows? We may revisit because we both played Days Gone. We could do that at one point. Days Gone and Ghost of Tsushima, and give it the real
Oh,
scores.
dude, I would fucking love to replay Days Gone. I know they just put out. If they would have put out a PS5 physical, I probably would have bought that fucking thing. But I might just upgrade it and play it digitally for that $10 upgrade. But anywho, next up on the chopping block, this one is going back to you, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
This is something we can both kind of hit on, though. This is a game that both of us are pretty big fans of, I would say. Deus Ex Mankind Divided. So the 2015, I believe, or 2016 classic.
I
Um,
love that you're using the word classic. That makes me feel old.
I swear. So this came out to some definitely split opinions, I would say. It
Mm-hmm.
seemed like this wasn't one of those games that just came onto the scene and immediately wowed everybody. But currently, right now, sitting at it on Metacritic, it is, as you see, I'm trying my best to stall for time here because for some reason my damn internet just went down.
Okay, I can
Let's,
fill it if need be.
these are the joys of, okay, I think we're good. We're good. All right,
Okay.
I got it. It is sitting at an 84 for the PS4 version 83. So yeah,
Oh,
84.
okay. This is directed at me, right?
Yeah, we can both kind of hit on this one since we both played and finished
Uh,
this.
I will give it an underrated, but I think that's a fair review score if I'm being 100% honest. Um,
Right.
but does that lean more in over or under? You said 84, right?
Yeah, 84.
I think this has the capabilities of being an 85, so I'll go underrated.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking like very slightly underrated.
Yeah,
I think 84 is actually a pretty damn good score for
yeah,
Mankind Divided. But I don't know. I mean, for once again, if we're doing personal gut check, I think like I'm pushing close to a 9 for this. So a little underrated. Probably like for me it's maybe a 8.7, 8.8, something like that. So a little underrated.
yeah. I'd probably fall in line with that with you as well. This doesn't break nines for me, but it's
It's
just
the weird
falling
thing.
short.
where like I like this game more than I like Ghost of Tsushima, but I think Ghost of Tsushima is a better game.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
And that's what we again we cracked the code with the review, patting ourselves on the back even further.
I swear. All right. So now it's your turn to lob something out. Um
Mm.
yeah.
It is the game that is Atlas's Skyrim, Persona 5. They'll probably re-release this one more time.
So I'm
Um,
actually gonna let you weigh in on this one pretty heavily. I played a very little bit of Persona 5. Right now it's sitting at a 93 on Metacritic. That's up there.
I know you only played a little bit of it, but I know that you've tried a bunch of turn-based JRPGs and you played like a lot of Metaphor and stuff like that. And if you bounced out quickly, I think that is where one should weigh why you bounced out. And do you feel like that was overrated or underrated?
Yeah, so I don't typically like that style of character, like the very young, very quirky, upbeat, chirpy, chippy. Like that's not my so it's not I can't necessarily say it's indicative of the quality of the game. It's
Hmm.
literally the style of writing, the style of voice acting that's not up my alley at all.
Right.
Um so I can't necessarily make a claim on the game. I will say art style, visually it was stunning. It seemed in terms of the story that they were trying to tell, they did a great job of building that out in the little bit of it that I played.
Hmm.
The combat was fun. Like I think it's a really well made game. Do I think that there's maybe a little bit of that the thing you talked about earlier with FromSoft, the same that you see with Atlas, all of their games are, 9 point fucking 3 or greater. Like it you do get a little bit of that there, but I think a lot of great studios have some real bias. But then there are a few studios who kind of get the opposite treatment, which maybe that'll be something for a different day. I don't know if we have any of those in there. Sucker Punch actually is one that kind of gets the opposite treatment, in my opinion, where they're a studio that always makes really good games. So I don't know if they've ever cracked a nine. I don't think a single Sly Cooper, I don't think a single Infamous, Ghost of Tsushima, like they've never cracked a nine, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so yeah, it's to me, I'd say I couldn't weigh in heavily because I haven't finished the game, but maybe a little bit. I could see that one being a little bit overrated.
Yep. You said 94, right?
93.
93. That's overrated. I would. I know, like that kind of people like, oh yeah, here he goes again, shitting on Persona 5. But I do genuinely feel like I love Atlas's games, of course, like big time. I love Persona 3, I love Persona 4, and I like Persona 5. The thing is that it does feel like a drag, and this
Mm,
is the thing of like also how I was kind of back and forthing between Metaphor at times. Like I love so many aspects of Metaphor, but it felt like a drag in a lot of other
I
areas.
agree.
And it's the thing of where I don't know what it is. Maybe they're taking influence from like Western RPGs and trying to be like, oh, bigger is better, expand out the world. Because my critiques and stuff was when I played Persona 3, it was Persona 3 Portable. You're given a cursor. Do you understand how freeing that is? To not have to walk through them environments. You're just
Yeah.
cursoring, and then you go, oh, click on the door, and then you're talking to that character, or you see the character in the hallway, you click on the, and it's just that. I'm not having to like. There's so much visual noise in Persona 5, and I know that's kind of like what they were going for, but for me personally, it's a bit too much. I think it's a little bit too loud. I like the style of the menus and stuff,
Yeah.
but it's
It
kind
is
of like
very.
when it's constantly thrown at you. That's the big difference. And I think I'm gonna also kind of give a little bit of a bit of praise towards Claire Obscure, personally, right here. I think that their menus are really flashy and exuberant. And then when you're out and exploring in the world, it kind of lets it breathe a little bit. It's not ramming it down your throat. So I'd go
Yeah.
overrated. I think maybe just breaching 90 would be fair for that.
Well, let's talk about a game that is right on the cusp of 90. Not quite though. That is Deathloop from the old Arcane. I believe Leon was Deathloop, if I'm not mistaken. Um, They're sitting at an 88.
Mm.
And this is an interesting one. I finished Deathloop. I really enjoyed it.
Hmm.
I'll get your take on it first. What you think? 88 overrated, underrated for Deathloop?
Overrated,
Overrated.
personally. Um, I like Arcane's games. I'm actually weird, and I don't particularly care for the like the. This is gonna sound weird to people. I actually think the best gameplay from an Arcane game is Prey, more so than Dishonored. I know some people really, really like Dishonored. I don't think I enjoyed the gameplay as much as I did in Prey. I really enjoyed Prey, and I was hoping that that would be more in line with Deathloop because it was more gun centric, kind of like Prey was. I don't know, I just couldn't click with it. I just didn't care. It did
Yeah.
not hook me in the slightest. The I know it's the whole premise of the game, but I just don't care for time loop games. I didn't
Mm.
care for going into the Forgotten City. I don't really particularly care for Deathloop. It's just something where it's like I don't know. I maybe it's because it's the thing of like where something appeals to you personally. I get that itch with roguelikes, with Isaac and stuff like that. I don't need that in this scenario. So for me, it's not something that I look for.
Yeah, I would say slightly overrated as well. 88 is pretty fucking high, especially when we're looking at something like Tsushima at an 83. And I think that's kind of an exercise that we're going to begin to even kind of get deeper into as we play this game more. Is like you're looking at certain things and you're like, oh, wait, Days Gone is a 71, but whatever other game is a 9. It's like, okay,
Deathloop
so
is
that's
a
kind of how.
touching point away from being best in class. Like, are you crazy?
Yeah, and it's not even I do think it's a very, very well made game, a really, really solid game. I had a blast playing it, but even at the time I remember like it's a little bit overrated. Um, Especially in comparison, I think this is rated much higher than all of the Dishonored games, if I'm not mistaken, which I don't that's tough.
I have a thread of logic. I don't know if it's. Do you think it has any basis on it being timed exclusive?
Actually, I'm totally wrong. Damn. Dishonored 1 and 2 are both 88, and so is Deathloop. That is fucking crazy. They're all 88? That
What's
is
Prey though?
wild.
All right, what's Prey? Sorry to like prod.
No, you're good.
There's no way
Dude, they're
that's
all 88. That is
what Prey as well.
no,
I was about to say,
Prey is 79. So but I think Prey had some technical issues when it launched,
come on,
if I'm not
man.
mistaken. Um,
I think we just
that
like
is
bad games, and that's what the moral of the story is.
how in the hell Dishonored 1, 2, and Deathloop all 88? That's if it was 88, 89, 86, it's like what all 88? That
that
is really a weird
that
thing
is
to.
weird. I can kind of see why Dishonored landed there because you had like there was such a starvation for like a thief style game, and that kind of
Yeah.
scratched that itch, and it was like, oh, that's really good. I don't really understand how Dishonored 2 kind of was on par with that. I didn't think there was as much love for that title as there was the original. And like I said, with Deathloop as well, Deathloop was there was no hype, no buzz. Really, I felt it felt like it come out, was talked about, and then just dropped.
No. Yeah, I mean,
Very
I I
strange.
I dug, I dug the game a good deal, but 88 is that's steep. All right, so we got two games left on the docket, and
I've got two. You've got
oh yeah,
one.
yep, you got two.
Don't
I have
forget
one.
me
Correct.
again. You did that last time. So it's me up next, right?
Yep, you up next.
Okay. GTA 5. What
Okay, so
is
yeah, I
to be fair, that's such a horrible the next gen version we'll go with is it's the newest
well, let's go with that base version
base
because
version.
well, actually, it doesn't fucking matter. They're all 97 and 98. I mean, that's overrated. Like I think what we talked about with FromSoft, Atlas, Rockstar, like there is a level of I don't really listen. No doubt that Red Dead Redemption 2, in my opinion, is like it's better than anything I've ever played. I think it's the greatest game that's ever been made. I've never played a game that I think is just that good. It's not my favorite game, but in terms of just overall quality, it is unbelievable. And so I'm not sitting here and saying that Rockstar doesn't make fucking the pinnacle of the pinnacle of the pinnacle. They do. But I just think when you're starting to look at like 97, 98, you're like a point or two away from perfect. Or not perfect, but 100%, where everybody agrees it's a 10. Like that is just so staggering. And I feel like you could go through and nitpick a lot of little things about GTA 5. It's a great game. A great game. But it has flaws. Like you can I think the story is better than people give it credit for, but you can go through and nitpick some bits about that story. I think the gameplay is better than people give it credit for, but it's not like GTA 5 wasn't a premier rock solid third person shooter when it came out in 2013. There were much better third person shooters on the market at that time. And
From a
it's like
gameplay perspective, you mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I would say Saints Row 3 was a better third person shooter than and Saints Row 3 came out in like 2011 if I'm not mistaken, 2 years before GTA 5 and I think it in terms of gameplay felt better to play. Um so like I just 97 I know it's one of the most fully realized, most lived in, most just impressive sandboxes that's ever been created, but 97 is that's steep,
You
man.
stole my thunder. I'm meant to be the one that kind of digs out Rockstar. Usually, throw a lot of praise their way. I'm kind of shocked. I would have expected you to be like underrated, if I'm being honest, because of the I don't. Maybe that's my like thread of logic of trying to look at it from when it's a title in that genre. So third person crime sandbox. Is there anything else that even comes above it as a complete package?
Fucking sleeping dogs. Like
Oh, okay. Yep.
that's the thing that's crazy to me, and
Yep.
that's why I look at this in the light that I do. Where Sleeping Dogs is rated like a 79 or whatever. It's just, dude, I don't. Grand Theft Auto 5 is a fucking unbelievable game, but Sleeping Dogs literally does almost everything that GTA 5 does better, except, of course, I totally get it. It doesn't have the budget of a 200 billion fucking dollar. Like, it's not the spectacle of a GTA 5. It doesn't have as realized, as lived in, as fully fucking just this world that you'll never see in any other game, any other open world ever, because no other developer has unlimited money.
Yep. Ah, you stole my thunder. I'd say it's overrated.
Yeah,
For me, it's one of the weird things because I can't remember what it was, what topic video we were talking about, but it's like where I value immersion and stuff. And you'd think that GTA does that. When I'm actually playing like a crime sandbox like that, immersion isn't important. It's actually like enjoyable to play, gameplay, like stuff like that. And Saints Row 3 for me clears it. Sleeping
I agree.
Dogs clears it. And I'm gonna say something very, very like controversial. Dude, Mafia clears it for me. I think like just the way the game
The
feels.
remake?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Much better gameplay in that remake.
And it's just
Um,
the thing of like I don't know. Maybe that's just me trying to have like a hipster opinion, maybe. But I don't know. It shocks me. But then you do have to have FromSofts, and you do have to have Rockstars where it is they do get held to that pinnacle, I suppose. And that's
well,
kind of like where my tug of war fights because it's like for me it's like I wouldn't choose like you tell me now like and this is like what I mean and I'm being 100% genuine when I say this. If you had a copy of Mafia: The Old Country in front of me and GTA 6, I would choose Mafia. Even though I know that GTA 6 will be the bigger impact, it will be probably the better made game, I wouldn't choose it personally. So for me, it's that's
This,
where I land.
yeah, see, I would choose Grand Theft Auto 6, but for maybe a weird reason. Like, and I know this is gonna sound very fucking shallow, but I am just so curious where that money went.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like it's just a sheer curiosity where I'm like, y'all had a billion plus dollar, unsure marketing, a billion plus dollar budget. Like, what did you do? It's sheer curiosity for me at this point. But anyways, yeah, I would say, and listen, I'm not saying underrated as in it should be an eight. Like it's not a
No,
fucking eight,
no,
but
that's what I mean.
underrated
Like
just
the
means,
pinnacle. It is the pinnacle of crime sandboxes. Very easily argued that it is what I should say.
well, and it's like because that's the fun of this game is it's rated at a 97, so a 96 means it's
Mm.
overrated. You know, that's the fun. You got to pick one or the other. There's no like sitting in the middle. So and I do think it's probably like a, you know, a couple points overrated. So, yeah, man. GTA 5 97, a little bit overrated.
Your last one, and
What?
I have one more after. So
Okay. What
this
so it's you and
it's
then
your
oh
it's
no,
your
it's
one.
me.
It's your one because I chose GTA 5.
How about we talk about a little game known as The Last of Us, but not The Last of Us 1. Let's talk about the where the controversy really begins with that series, and that is The Last of Us 2, my friend. And this score I think is actually going to shock you, Lynn. The Last of Us 2 on PlayStation 4 when it initially
Wait, wait, wait,
launched.
wait, wait, wait. Let me guess.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
86.
Okay, well maybe it's not going to shock you. 93.
Oh, okay. That does
Because
shock me.
that's one of those games that gets talked about like it, you know, the most awards ever won in the history of this, that, and it's like, damn, 93, you would think it'd be a little bit higher. But 93, I don't think that's, I mean, not to go ahead and spoil my own, but I don't think that's crazy overrated. I would still say it's a little bit overrated, in my opinion. I don't think 93, I think I would go a little bit lower, but I think it's some of the best third person gameplay I've ever seen in my life. But 93 is that's maybe a little bit overrated for me. What do you say?
I I think it's one of them things. I do think it's overrated. I think both games are kind of overrated if I'm being honest. They do narrative really well, more so the first game than the second, if I'm being honest. I think the narrative structure of the first game was very, very good.
Oh yeah.
But for me, both games made me feel miserable. The second one much more so, but it because it made me laugh when people. I felt like it was the same thing with the Borderlands series, like how people really loved the original games, but I've always had the consistent critique, and it feels like people open their eyes at some point, like the nostalgia goggles like slip off, and they're like, oh yeah, because they had the critique obviously of The Last of Us 2 of being like, oh man, this is miserable, and it's like I came away in the first game feeling that way as well. Like I don't think that there were particularly likable characters. I think the decisions that they made were decisions. And I know, like, I'm trying to like, it's a hard thing because they're in a completely different scenario than I will ever be in. So he is making a decision purely based on emotion, and that's kind of what the game's like backbone is. Is it's fueled and driven by emotion more so than sense. Um, so I think it's a bit overrated.
Yeah, 93 is tough. I mean, I think really for me it comes down to one thing and one thing only. The pacing is just really rough in that game. That would
That as
drag it
well
down. Yeah.
in the
That
second
would
game.
drag it down for sure. That would drag it down a few points for me, man. I mean, I do, like I said, I think when you're talking about going prone and diving onto the fucking, like, there's so many improvements from the gameplay in terms of the melee combat, in terms of the level of interactivity with fucking I mean, just the section where I remember the E3 demo where Ellie is going prone. She jumps up under the car. The enemies are like looking around for her and they like duck down under the car and she sees their head, pops them with a headshot while she's lying prone, being able to flip over. Like, there's so many great things about that gameplay, but man, it is a slog to play through. There's some really poor pacing in that game. But 93. Yeah, I'd say that's a little bit overrated. I'd probably be closer to like a 8.7, 8.8. Great game, but 93 is that's up there. So, we're at your final game, my friend.
Yep, one that I think you've also played very little of, but I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on. Near,
All right.
and I'm not gonna say the name with the fucking number, but near replicant.
Okay.
Um, did you want to kick it off, or did you want me to? I think you kick it off because I'm interested in hearing what your initial thoughts on it were.
So, Near Replicant is at an 83
Mm-hmm.
on Metacritic. I, listen, I played maybe 5 6 hours of it, something like that. I hated the map. That was really my only problem with the game.
Ooh.
I actually liked the game, but I hated the fucking map, so I ended up bouncing off of it. 83 though, I mean, I don't think that's egregious. Once again, I don't want to be a fence sitter, but I'd say that's probably somewhat normal. I'd maybe say a little bit overrated. There wasn't anything in the game that I found like unbelievably compelling, but once again, I only got 5 6 hours into it.
So let me write that down. Not what you said, but the number, just so I have that.
83.
Can you go look at Alpha Protocol for me quickly?
Yes, sir.
And I'm gonna draw the because I'm assuming it's low. Is the point of that?
Alpha Protocol is rated a 63.
Yep. So for me, I think this game is absolutely criminally underrated. And where I draw that line of is the gut
Wait, which
feeling.
game? Alpha Protocol or Near?
Both of them. That was why,
Oh,
because I
okay.
knew Alpha Protocol was low, and I think also with Near, it's low for what it is. It's definitely one of the things where because it draws comparison with Alpha Protocol, there are really bad aspects of both of them games. Really, really bad aspects in the form of Alpha Protocol. It's obviously the gameplay. The gameplay is bad, really bad, and like you said with Near, the map, the layout and stuff. Some of the stuff they have you doing is a slog, but the themes and the nuggets of like for sticking true to it, for sticking by the BS that the game makes you do, you get given some of the most rewarding game story ever written, and some of the most creative, like just being able to create a game that is a third person hack and slash, then turning it into a shoot 'em up, then turning it into a Diablo like, then turning it into a 2D. And this is what I mean. Your eyebrows raise. You're like, wait, what?
I did not know that
Exactly. There's so many layers to this game, and the thing is, no, hardly anyone gets to that because the
because of
opening of
the
that original Near is it's
yeah.
really,
Okay.
really, really slow, really boring. There are, if you're really invested, there are kind of things like, ooh, okay, that's kind of piqued my interest, and that kind of keeps you going. But for the majority of players, you end up experiencing it, and you're like, how can anyone like this? I'm running
Yeah.
around in a field
Not knowing where to
gathering
go and
mutton,
yeah.
and it's just like, no, 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 no. And it's the thing. It is pretentious. That is the word I'll throw out. It is pretentious. Yoko Taro is pretentious. Very, very, very pretentious with his writing, but I like that. I like the
Mhm.
things that he challenges and stuff like that. I like that. This isn't a spoiler. There are places in the game where you go to, and he is making sure that you exhibit the feeling that he wants you to exhibit. You go to a location and they treat you like dirt. So you then inherently as the character, you're like, I don't like these people. I don't want to help these people. And that's perfect because that's what he wants you to do. Because when he weaves in that story and being like, these other factions don't like them, they shun them and stuff like that. And it's all just these threads of story that all it's just beautiful. That's why I mean like to see it so low, to me, seeing that number so low, it is extremely underrated. Because what it does achieve is in the 90s for the stuff that it brings out.
Shit, yeah, that makes me interested to play it though. I didn't know anything about it turning into a fucking Diablo like or turning into a fucking shoot 'em up or that's reminiscent of Jade Empire,
Yep.
which is one of my favorite games of all time.
And the thing is,
Um,
one more thing, sorry to cut you off. It's a game where you beat it, but you haven't beaten it.
So
Does
is
that
that
make sense?
Automata or Replicant or
That's both
both?
of them.
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah.
his every game he's made is like that because it
Nice.
stemmed back to Drakengard 1 where he was under the impression that there was never going to be a sequel. So what he did, he had all these ideas, but he's like, well, I'm never going to be able to see these ideas to fruition, so I'll just make different endings for people. And it obviously became popular, and he ended up that's his design philosophy moving forward with all the games. This way of like ending B, C, D, E, and stuff like that. And it's not just like a Witcher ending where it's like they are all just continuations of the story. It's really really good, really good.
Yeah, I picked up a copy of Automata. Just I was hoping the map layout would be a little bit
Nope,
stronger. It's not. Damn.
nope.
I don't know. One day maybe. One day maybe, man. I just
You
one
need
day maybe.
tolerance like Alpha Protocol.
But you know where to go at least in fucking Alpha Protocol. Golly. But no, I get it. It's two totally different things. The
Mm-hmm.
gameplay is certainly weak in Alpha Protocol, and that I never thought the gameplay was weak in Replicant at all. So, well, that's that, man. Those are all the games, right?
Yep.
Overrated or underrated, a game about games has been completed. Let us know down in the comments below what we got right, what we got wrong. What would you say is overrated? What would you say is underrated based on the games provided today? And if you like this, please, please, please leave a like, drop a comment, all of that good stuff because it massively gets it out to new eyeballs. The algorithm is only as nice as the interaction,
Yep.
unfortunately. But yeah. So please, if you like these games and want to see more of them, spread it around, spread the word, and get it out to some new eyeballs so that we can keep on doing this good stuff here on the channel. And yeah, subscribe if you're new. We greatly appreciate anybody for tuning in and taking the time out of their day to come chill with us. So we shall see you, good people, very very soon. Goodbye.
See you later.